Recently, a regular check-in with a client, which I thought was routine, turned out to be a huge disappointment for me. Now, it took me time to recover, but where I'm now, I'm looking back and I realized that there are three things that I had to do and had to work through to get to a place of joy. Now, the first thing I did was I realized that I'm feeling really disappointed. I was curious about the emotion and I just thought of, why am I feeling so disappointed? Why do I even feel a little bit like, I should have seen this coming, I should have been more awake, whatever. Why do I feel these feelings? So I was curious about it. That's the first thing, and I learned about it. But I also gave the emotion space so that, you could work through it and unpack it and go to it. That was the first thing. Give space to the emotion, get curious about it. The second thing I did was I discussed this with a dear friend and with my wife, people I trust. And just their awareness of the situation, just their support and encouragement helped me unpack it. And I realized, where does this fit? And the third thing that I came back to was that what are my expectations in life? What are my expectations with clients, for example, in this case? But what are my expectations and how do they link to my values? If I realize what the big picture is and I see the big picture and where I'm going over the long term, and I have my expectations over the long term, I do need to expect that sometime along the way there will be disappointments. But as long as we learn from the disappointments and grow from the disappointments, we find the joy on the other end. And as long as we bring in more opportunities to displace those disappointments, we're actually going forward. Because in all of this, if everything was always just hunky-dory and there was no hardship, what would the point be? What would be our quality of life be anyways? It would just be humdrum. But if we realize there will be ups and downs, and when there are downs, we know to give our emotions space, to speak to loved ones, and to work with our values and our expectations. Those three things carried me through the disappointment to find joy on the other side. I feel so grateful and joyful now to be able to share this with you, and hopefully you can learn from this, because when last have you had a big disappointment? Or when next do you think you'll have one? Work on those three things and hopefully it'll help you to find joy sooner than later. Have a fantastic week and we'll speak again.